Hey guys, Silverlord here, back in with another action figure review, and no, this is not some kind of sick practical joke, because today we'll be taking a look at the Pokemon Select Trainer Series MewTwo, brought to us by the fine folks over at Jazzwares. Now, truth be told, this is also a Target exclusive line of figures, but I'm going to refrain from saying "oh geez 'em" in my typical normal silly goofball fashion, because this is a relatively easy line to collect and or to obtain. You can find them on the website, you can find them in store, heck, you can find them on GameStop sometimes. So yeah, unlike McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Gold Label figures, this guy right here is not going to receive the "oh geez 'em" treatment, even though I personally have not seen him at my local Target store. That said, not only is this figure brought to us by the fine folks over at Jazzwares and Target, but also my good buddy Evil Villain, who was nice enough to hook this guy up in a somewhat recent trade that we did not too long ago. But it's kind of been a while since we did that trade, so I will leave a link in the description below to his Instagram. Head on over there, give him a follow, let him know Overlord sent you. But as always, don't be a Yorkafasa, or I will find you and you will not like the consequences, I assure you. But the main reason I got this Mewtwo figure is not because of my once past love for the Pokemon franchise and or Super Smash Bros. Brawl, who he does make an appearance with. He's a bit of a jerk in that game because he pulls some shenanigans on that one stage. You know that one stage that you gotta fight Lucario in order to unlock him? Yeah, that one. But the main reason I got this figure was to connect and be closer to my girlfriend, who I've been dating for a little over a year now, which is a long time for me, not gonna lie. I've had relationships last as long as over half a year to only a month or so. So this is a record for me, and I hope it lasts longer, because my girlfriend and I have been through a lot. We've had our ups and downs, as you do with any relationship. But the main thing is, she was there when I lost my mom last year. So, you know, doesn't get stronger of a bond than that, as far as you ask me. Once you kind of sit through something traumatic like that, and you're still together months afterwards, that says a lot, right? That said, she is a massive Pokemon fan, much more than myself. Even back when I was into it, when I was a kid, when Diamond and Pearl was a thing, I think that's Generation 4, right? She's been into it since then, and even beforehand. As far as I know anyway. She plays Pokemon Go, at least she used to. She collects the cards. She knows a lot about the lore, way more than yours truly, and she will school my ass in the comments, I'm sure, if I mess up anything in this video. So, with that being said, let's cut to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review. Taking a look-see at Mewtwo's only accessory, and that is this handy-dandy flight stand. Now, I will tell you, this is not a crap flight stand, but it is fidgety as all get out, at least for me, because this little pig here likes to not stay in his back. He's got a port on his back here, and trying to get this thing in there so it stays can be easier said than done. Of course, it's staying now, but it's kind of keyed to fit a certain way, and because of his big giant tail, it's very limited on what you can really do with it. That said, if you ask me, they should have put the port right on the bottom here. That way he could just balance on top of it, as opposed to it needing to be kind of tight to help suspend him in the air. But I'm more than likely going to use a McFarlane flight stand with this guy, because they're way less fidgety, and he doesn't weigh enough to weigh one of those down. That said, this thing does have some nice tight ratchets here, here, and down at the base. They do have a tendency to kind of split apart and pop apart sometimes, but that's fine. You can just put them back together, and they're not any looser than they were when you initially put it together, which is not hardly at all. It does have a rotation point here, and if you look, the stand does kind of look like a Pokeball, which is nice. So plugging that back in. Let's take a closer look at Mr. Mewtwo here. Very nice figure. Like, I remember the days when Jazzwares sucked ass, and their figures felt like they would just fall to bits in your hands. My dad has a Hong Kong Fooey figure from back then, and yeah, I don't want to handle that thing, let alone look at it the wrong way, because I'm afraid of what will happen if that does occur. Mewtwo here, though, aside from this kind of midsection here, feels really solid. I really like the way this guy feels in hand. It's very much on par with what Jada was doing back when they first started making figures. But that said, if we are referring to that, this is not a perfect figure, but damn it all if it isn't a really, really solid first go at this character. Like, this is a really, really solid Mewtwo figure. And if you don't have the SH Figure Arts and aren't willing to fork over the cash that that thing demands, this is perfect substitute. He only costs like 20 bucks, which is ridiculous because this thing is 100% new tooling. He's about 6-inch scale. So, you know, if you're trying to build a Smash Brothers display or just trying to build a Pokemon collection, very nice scale, very nice size. He's got some weight to him, mostly because of his tail here, which does rotate. And typically, Mewtwo's tail is posed like this. I can bend it. There. But I will tell you, he's not going to stand up without the stand. If you pose the tail like this, you can see he's just going to flop right over. Which that does kind of suck, but, you know, that's kind of the nature of the beast. Or nature of the Pokemon in this instance, because you're not going to make a Mewtwo without his big ass tail. So, you know, while this is the correct pose, and this is probably how I'm going to pose him on my shelf, I will have him, again, on a McFarlane flight stand, because A, the base is a little smaller, so it'll take up a little less real estate, and B, it's way less fidgety, and can hold him up just fine. So as far as articulation on this guy goes, the little tuber on the back of his head, funny enough, does unplug. Just gotta kind of, oh wow, I got that in there, holy shit. You just unplug that on the back, and his head can look up all the way. Can look down all the way. He can rotate at the base of the neck and at the base of the skull there. I will say mine's hinge in the neck is a little bit looser than I'd like, so when you plug this tuber in, it's going to cause him to look down a little bit. But if you really get it in there, I think the deeper you get it in there, the higher his head will be able to look up. So if I can just do that, there we go. That might be too deep, but you know what? He's not looking down on the world, so I guess that's good, right? I kind of like it not sticking out too far. That said, he's got a very Pokemon Go-esque aesthetic about him, because he's got the kind of oversized head, or the larger head, whereas in Smash Bros. In the anime, I think his head was a little smaller. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but very Pokemon Go in that instance. But as far as the rest of his articulation goes, his shoulders can go up past 90. They can rotate. And I'm hoping you guys can see this. I'm using the black backdrop for this guy because he is a bright white figure. You can see he's messing up my camera something bad, so hopefully you can see him alright. But the arm rotates 360. He's got a bicep swivel, which not the best hidden. I would have personally taken a single jointed elbow that rotated over this, but this is okay, I guess. He's got a double elbow though, so he can pick his nose with his weird three-pronged hand there. That said, he does have a rotation in said hand and a hinge in the arm that allows the hand to move kind of up and down like that. If you really want it to be up and down, you gotta kind of twist his arm sideways like this, and then you can get that up and down motion. But for the most part, it's fine. I would have preferred the hinge to be in the hand itself, since they put hinges in his little fingers here. Like, what the hell? That's crazy. And for the most part, they are easy enough to move, at least after I've had them posed for a little bit. But you can hinge them, and they do rotate at the base there a little bit. So that's cool. You can clench his hand in a fist, or you can put him in the perfect position to grab Zabuti or Zabooby. So that's fun. You can play grab ass with your Mewtwo figure. Or Mewtwo could play grab ass with you, depending on who you are. That said, as far as the torso goes, he can kind of crunch back a little bit there. I will say that the ab crunch is kind of stiff. Doesn't really want to work too well, but it will. It does click like one notch. But I do like to have it straightened out all the way. He does rotate up here. He does rotate here. And then as far as his hips go, they just kind of rotate. But again, he's got these big clunky Mewtwo hips. They're just big kind of jelly beans, essentially. And then he's got this big gnarly seam right up his crotch. I want to see a doctor about that, dude. But yeah, that's kind of unsightly. I don't know why they didn't do it on the side, and then just have like a barbell like your Marvel Legends or your Master of the Universe figures nowadays have. Because then you could maybe get a little bit of outward motion in the hips. I don't think he has any as it stands. If he does, it's very minimal at best. But yeah, I would have preferred this seam to be on the sides. That's typically where it is on most figures. And I would have preferred the peg hole for the stand to be on the underside. I might have mentioned that before, but yeah. But you can, I think you can almost rotate his leg full 360. No, you can't. It starts to hit, but he does have a single knee that gets plenty of range. I don't know if it rotates at all. Feels like it's keyed somehow. But yeah, he does have a hinge there. Yeah, it actually feels like the calf is what's swiveling there. Yeah, alright, that's what's going on there. So he's got a calf cut, but he doesn't have a knee swivel. But he does have a hinge in the foot. And I think the foot rotates somewhere in there. I don't know if it rotates. Yeah, it does rotate a little bit there. And then he's got a little toe joint. His little toes there. So, fairly articulated figure. Very much so. I can bend this tail back. Let's see here. I will tell you one thing about this tail. Out of package, the swivel point here, this break here, was very tight. I did have to really push on it to get it to rotate there, but once I got it freed up, it works just fine. It's not gotten stuck since. But very nice figure. I really like this figure. He's super freaking clean. Like, he's got some kind of digital face print in the eyes there to give him those pissed off anime eyes he always has. Because Mewtwo's got to be a Debbie Downer, right? Kind of like myself sometimes. But if I stand him up here, bear with me, because his tail does push him out quite a ways. I'll bring out our two regulars for size comparisons, because I don't really have anything to compare this guy to. I don't collect like anime stuff. The only thing I have remotely close to this is the three main characters from the Netflix Castlevania series. So bear with me as I bring out Brother Mandibolith here, crazy skeleton guy, and the infamous 11 Spawn, who are, of course, dark colored figures on a dark colored backdrop. You can barely see Spawn's M there, but you can blatantly tell that, as usual, Spawn's taller than everybody. This Mewtwo is not the tallest figure ever, but, you know, again, if you're working on a Pokemon display or a Smash Bros. Display, this guy is ideal. You gotta have this guy. He's one of the main characters. Whether Pikachu and Eevee are the poster children or not, Mewtwo is the man. He is awesome. My only gripe with this figure, other than, you know, some looseness here and there, the seam on the front and the stand, is I wish he did come with like some effect pieces, like a shadow ball or something. That would have been pretty cool. But for the most part, I really dig this figure, man. It is potential for one of the figures of the year. So with that being said, I ain't got much else to say about Mewtwo here, so why don't we wrap this thing up with some final thoughts. Overall, and aside from some joint looseness here and there, the seam line right dab smack on the front of poor Mewtwo's crotch there, might want to see a doctor about that, and the somewhat fidgety flight stand, at least with my particular figure. If you were worried about new Jazzwares being like old Jazzwares, say back in the, I don't know, Toys R Us days when they had the Hanna-Barbera Nicktoons regular show Adventure Time licenses, Mortal Kombat 2, I am very happy to say that that is not the case, but they do have some things to improve upon. This is not a perfect figure. However, if you are like me and a casual Pokemon and or Smash Brothers fan, this is a fun figure. Again, it is not a perfect figure, but for the price point of $20, not too shabby. This is a very, very, very nice release. As I mentioned earlier, on par with some of the earlier Jada Toys action figure offerings, and a very much affordable counterpart to the SH Figuarts of the same character. So, while I may not be all in on this Pokemon line, I do understand why some people are. If Mewtwo is any sign of what's to come, or what has already been in this line, then I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on my boy Charizard and seeing if they do some more of my favorite Pokemon like Machamp, Gengar, Alakazam, etc. And I can't wait to see what they have planned for the future of this line. I think it is quite bright indeed. Quite bright indeed. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.